今年5月20日，为响应美国的带孩子上班日，白宫特别为职员与记者的子女举办了一场1日白宫体验活动。其中最吸睛的一幕，莫过于白宫发言人李维特现身新闻简报室，亲自回答孩子们对总统川普的提问。其中一名小女孩的提问格外有趣又直率，她用稚嫩的语气问李维特，有多少人被川普开除了？面对这个问题，李维特笑着回应，除了有一个人自己离职外，川普总统目前还没有开除任何人。一句回答带出了政治观察家们心中的疑问：川普总统变了吗？事实上，若把时间轴拉回到川普第一任期，答案恐怕是否定的。根据美国智库布鲁金斯研究院的统计，自2017年至2021年初，川普白宫的 A-Team， 也就是核心决策圈的人事流动率，平均高达92%。从 FBI 局长到白宫幕僚长，从国安顾问到通讯主管，几乎人人都经历了上任、被换、再上任、再被换的一轮又一轮政治椅子游戏。当年川普主政风格强势，节奏快速，白宫几乎成为真人实境秀谁是接班人的延长舞台。只要让总统不高兴，开除令很可能立刻送到办公桌前，毫不留情。川普习惯任命来自企业界、媒体界或其他非传统政治背景的人才担任要职，但也从不手软地解雇他们。譬如第一任期，他曾在短短11天内开除刚上任的白宫通讯主管，出身纽约金融界的安东尼·史卡拉穆奇。然而，到了2025年，川普 2.0 开除官员的方式不再如此戏剧化，他变得不那么暴冲，反而是事先准备了一份开除名单。
It is such a pleasure to see so many beautiful faces in this room and so many future leaders. Hi, Eloise, you look so cute back there. I'm so excited to host this briefing today in honor of National Bring Your Kids to Work Day, and it's great to see so many future leaders here. Welcome to the James S. Brady Briefing Room. My name is Caroline Levitt, and I am the White House Press Secretary for President Donald J. Trump. He is the 45th and now the 47th President of the United States. My job at the White House is to communicate the President's message to the American people and to answer questions from journalists who work in this building every day, many of whom are your moms and your dads. Now, they ask me some pretty good questions, but I'm sure you will all have excellent questions to ask me yourselves. Bobby Lynn?
How many people has he fired?
How many people has he fired? Thus far, actually, we have not had anyone fired with the exception of one individual who did leave their job. But we have a great team here so far, so good. Thank you for the question.
Today I received the notification at 10:54 that my position at my office, the Office of Countering Violent Extremism, was going to be eliminated as a result of the Trump administration's reorganization plan. The patriotic men and women of the State Department have provided their nonpartisan expertise to every administration since 1789. The oath of office we have taken to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, is a sacred pledge which we dutifully honor. No one at the State Department would disagree with the need for reform, but arbitrarily laying off people like me and others, irrespective of their performance, is not the right way to do it.
The State Department is firing over 1,300 employees. It's part of President Trump's drastic overhaul of the department. That number includes 1,100 civil servants, 246 foreign service officers. They'll all have assignments within the United States. A notice sent to employees says the change is to streamline domestic operations in order to focus on diplomatic priorities.
自2025年川普重返白宫后，他没有浪费时间纠缠政治口水，而是按照预先规划的人事清单，快速调整国安与行政团队，拔掉不听话的，换掉不积极的，整顿他认为不够忠诚的机构。这不只是人事异动，而是一次权力地图的重绘。川普的这一轮回归被媒体形容为带着颠覆建制派决心而来，他不是在修补制度，而是在重建它。但其中有一个他始终动不了的位置，就是联准会主席鲍尔。鲍尔是川普在2017年亲自提名的主席人选，原本应该是自己人，但上任以来，鲍尔始终保持距离，从未在货币政策上顺应川普节奏。联准会作为美国的中央银行，虽享有制度上的独立性，但在现实政治中，独立往往意味着不受总统控制。川普回国后，不止一次暗示，甚至明示鲍尔要求配合降息，以改善经济数据，为2026年中期选举铺路。但鲍尔拒绝让政策为选举服务，坚持不随政改，只看数据。对川普而言，这早已不只是货币路线的分歧，而是对权力挑战的象征。从2019年，他就对鲍尔的抗命颇有微词。如今，这场对峙延续至第二任期，毫无缓和迹象。说白了，川普与鲍尔的局域自始至终都卡在利率。
I don't need 5,000 people working for me behind the scenes like Jerome Powell to tell him what he should say once a month, because they got it wrong. The Fed got it wrong. I call him too late. He's always too late. Every point cost us $360 billion. Think of that. And we should be 3 points. That's almost $1 trillion. Approximately $1 trillion less. We should be just with the signing of a piece of paper. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you're telling me he's going to quit. I hope he quits. I don't know that he's going to quit, but he should quit because he's been very bad for the country.
U.S. President Donald Trump said on Sunday that it would be a great thing if Fed Chairman Jerome Powell stepped down. The Fed last cut rates in December, and since then has left them in the range of 4.25% to 4.5% as officials wait to see if inflation strengthens in the wake of Trump's global wave of tariffs. The Fed is broadly expected to resume cuts in September, but Trump has said the Fed's policy rate should be lowered sharply now.
All right, sources tell CBS News, that President Trump asked a group of House Republicans if he should fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. You heard him talk about that during his meeting there with the Crown Prince of Bahrain. Now, he addressed the report in the Oval Office moments ago, and he took shots at Powell. Listen.
He should have cut interest rates a long time ago. Europe has cut them 10 times in the short period of time, and we cut them none. The only time he cut them was just before the election to try and help Kamala or Biden, whoever the hell it was, because nobody really knew. He's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him, but they did. So, no, we're not planning on doing anything.
Torian, what are you hearing about this supposed meeting with the GOP lawmakers that happened, and would it even be possible to fire Powell?
Yeah, so on the latter part of that question, Mugo, that's what's the point of contention, which is probably why we're hearing the president not going too far and confirming whether or not he would actually move forward with firing him, which is why he floated the idea of maybe looking into any offense committed by Powell before he moves forward with that part of the discussion. But sources have been telling CBS, these are people who were in the room with the president, that he pretty much corroborating what he said in that Oval Office meeting or press conference just now, that he talked or floated this idea, wanted to really bounce it off of them. Nothing really definitive, though, and the president again confirmed that he had these conversations, but no immediate action, at least in his mind, was on the table at this point, Mugo.
We've all sensed the frustration from the White House across the administration with Fed Chair Jay Powell. And a lot of confusion, I think, at this point that maybe we can address in this conversation. Is firing the Federal Reserve Chair under active consideration in the White House and the Treasury in your administration?
President Trump said numerous times he's not going to fire Jay Powell. He's working the refs. And I've said before, I'm a basketball fan. There are two schools of working the refs. There's the Bobby Knight School, and there's the Dean Smith School. President Trump seems to prefer the Bobby Knight School. And I'll tell you, I went back over the weekend and looked, and Bobby Knight won 3 NCAA championships. My hero, Dean Smith, only won 2.
The NEC director, Kevin Hassett, I'm not sure what you'd call him, but he was asked over the weekend, can the Fed chair be fired? He said that's a thing that's being looked into. How should we understand those comments?
Look, and I will point out, Kevin was a collegiate basketball player. And I think, as President Trump said, he's not looking to fire Chair Powell. And as I've said, I'm not going to comment on future policy or future mistakes the Fed will make. I'll only comment on past mistakes. And look, they've had some big forecasting errors, and this may be one now.
Is there a reason for not firing him? And I asked that question because the president's also said that his term is about to expire in May of next year. Is that the reason to ultimately just wait? Or is it something else? Are you convinced by the negative consequences associated with such a move?
Look, I think an independent central bank is very important for the conduct of monetary policy, and we can see that in terms of both the financial markets, the term premium, and longer-term debt.
You said previously the interview process would begin later on in the fall. There's been plenty of speculation as to whether that process would be brought forward. Mr. Secretary, do you still, as far as you understand, believe that's when the interview process to replace the Fed chair will begin in the fall, or has a formal process already started?
Well, look, there's a formal process that's already starting. There are a lot of great candidates, and we'll see how rapidly it progresses. It's President Trump's decision, and it will move at his speed.
The Federal Reserve was created in the early 20th century to avoid runs on banks and the economic ravages that flowed from them. This was a big problem back then. In the decades since, it has taken on more tasks, the ones you've probably heard about: maximizing employment, taming inflation, and moderating long-term interest rates. As such, the Fed touches your life, as interest rates, of course, reverberate through all your accumulated credit and, of course, through the ledgers of those from whom you buy goods and services. Also, the dollar is the global reserve currency, and the independence of the Federal Reserve, our central bank, is also central, if you will, to its stability and investability. President Trump has been toying for weeks with the idea of firing Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, whom Trump first appointed in 2017. Yesterday, Trump asked a group of House Republicans privately if he should fire Powell. This trial balloon, of course, was leaked and was designed to apply maximum heat on Powell and the Fed Board of Governors to lower interest rates, as Trump has demanded for months. Stock market reaction today vacillated between fear and loathing to, oh, he's just kidding.
川普很清楚自己无法直接开除联准会主席，但他可以做另一件事，削弱联准会的独立性。目前，川普政府正多线出击，对联准会发动攻势。首先，他瞄准鲍尔的痛点，借由联准会总部大楼扩建案严重超支，公开质疑鲍尔的判断力与个人操守。川普甚至讽刺鲍尔不像一个会花25亿美元盖楼的人。其次，川普不怕打持久战，他正在推动国会立法，试图限缩联准会的决策自主，强化白宫对货币政策的影响力，并准备在即将出现的联准会理事会空缺中安插2到3位更忠诚，或至少更愿意配合的成员进入体系。同时，川普也在舆论战场发力，试图重新定义联准会的双重使命。在稳定通膨与促进就业2个项目里，哪个优先，又由谁来判断？这个问题的本身就是一种施压。这一系列动作未必能立刻让鲍尔下台，但足以削弱他的权威，让他说的话不像总裁，甚至让整个联准会逐渐变得温顺、沉默、失去力量。说到底，川普不是要毁掉制度，他是要改写制度。
Maggie, I think on the Jay Powell front, I want to know if your reporting and your sense from inside the administration is that this new focus that we are seeing, not just from the budget chief, but also other top aides inside the White House, is that they're searching basically for a legal avenue to try to oust Jay Powell from his job.
I think there's no question that they are searching as to whether there is a legal out. I don't know that they want to pull that lever yet, Caitlin, but this has been a slow roll toward this point. A lot of the president's advisors, as you know, not that many months ago, 2, were, assuring people that he was not serious about getting rid of Jay Powell. The president himself then said he wasn't going to do it. But he was, sort of reading the stage directions out loud in June when he said, I've tried everything. I've tried being nice. I call him names. I call him every name in the book. I can't get him to do what I want, which is lowering rates. And so this is at minimum an extension of a pressure campaign, and it's a big one.